how I'm going to do this with each dog. Some of these dogs, like Lavender or Cairo, very submissive and guidable from the get-go. You'll probably just be able to bring them right into your space. For some of these dogs where it starts to become too excitable, this is where it's going to take a lot of finesse. So it's using the down as a tool to calm the brain and show them what you want. But we're introducing a lot of gray because, as a rule, we don't talk to them, share affection, or make eye contact while they're in the down, right? So if this is a basic obedience dog for a client, I'd never teach them this. But with the service dog side, pressure therapy, tasking for you, being able to come into your space, this is where we're introducing some gray, but we want to have a lot of finesse so we're fair in their understanding of what we want. Does that make sense? Okay, so down. So typically in a down, how I'd start this is when I go to say down and take a knee, down, even taking a knee, right, is an inviting position. And I'm not ready yet, because if he's already triggered and excited just for me taking a knee, it's going to be too much when I go to have a seat on the ground, right? Down. Do you just crawl? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Down. So we try to keep an eye on him here. Down. But you can see how just me taking the knee, what it brings. So because I'm going to be going even more and sitting down and inviting him into my space, I want his brain down to settle in this spot before I proceed. Does that make sense? Down. So if it's settled and starting to look good and it's calm, down. See the body pressure turning in towards him? So down. That's why I turn and take it off once I'm in position. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm giving him a moment to make sure his brain will stay settled and he won't trigger like an excitement or trying to break command or crawl in. Okay? And so even here, I'll clear it. Creep. Because I invited, I'm not going to correct for breaking the command. Down. Down. Little tap to show him. Let's see, too. Scoot out from this table a little bit. So right now, even though he's not on me yet, I want to build on me being able to sit and just be able to share calm affection with him next to me. It's not spiraling out where he's getting all excited, he's doing the goofies, trying to pop up, lick my face, mouth, any of that, right? I want to build on this moment. Yeah, they might even invite around here. Creed. Hey. And then here I'll even pat this other seat, or leg. Hi. Down. The little tap, down. And him licking, that's that busy brain. Just when I use down, like a little tap, it's for direction. I'm not trying to bring like I'm not bringing a super strong correction. Hey. Down. Little tap just to give him direction. Now I get my hand on him. Okay, but is this all starting to make sense so far? Even here, if I just like straighten my legs a little bit, down. So that's the whole point, right? So being able to move him in now more on me, but being able to keep everything calm, show him. And so I'm using the down here more to give him direction, like calm the moment, than it is about him like laying down, don't sniff, don't crawl, don't wind up, bark, all that, right? Because we're introducing gray here. He really likes this apparently. The lipstick. But the whole point is building on this, right? So now he's just starting to kind of like melt into it and stay calm. My petting is still like a massage, right? Just building on all this. I might not have him in this session. I might not have him like up in my lap just going to sleep, but just building on this to where he can like be on me, sharing calm affection. Does that make sense? Or any questions on this so far? No?
Just the down part, because we haven't done that. So you started to share your affection when you sat down and he was still in a down.
Yes.
You never broke the down this whole time.
So when I sat down and I was ready to actually bring him into my space, I invited him in. So I didn't formally release with like a break. I invited him in, and so I'm not gonna break, or I'm not gonna correct him for for breaking command there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so, like I said, there's a lot of like gray in this. So
Right.
the main thing is we want to be fair to the dog,
Yes.
right? And so even with this, like just building on this, and then even when I'm done and now I want to disengage, I'm gonna move my leg down. I take my hand off him now, down, down, and clear, down. I shouldn't have done this right under the table, down. But when I am gonna disengage and be done with it, that's when I remove my hands down. Now I'm making it formal, like an actual down. But if he goes to break command, I'll still correct to show him, but I'm getting my hands off of him. I'm not inviting him anymore, any of that. Does that make sense?
It does. I've been using sit or off,
Mm-hmm.
but now today we're going to be doing it with the down.
For the purpose of getting the dog to actually lay down on your legs.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So with the sitting stuff, a lot of it's just off when they start to become like too much, but they're in a sit or they're standing. But it's with the purpose of actually trying to get him to lay down. That's why I'm doing that, like that little tap down, just to show him and give direction on what I want, because I'm not going to try to like force him down.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I'll go and use her next. Okay. Break. Come on. All right, I'm going to come around with him. Hey. Hey. Sit. Down. Okay. There's that. Okay. Down. All right. Now borrow her.
Down.
Break. Come on. Come on. We're going. Come on. Okay. So, I'll try to do it a little bit more over here so I'm not under the table. Down. Down. And so with her, knowing your dog, I went right to a sit because I didn't think she would get all spun up from just me taking a knee. But if you have a dog that's more like excitable with each movement and stuff, start with the knee. But here I'm having a seat, and so down. Same thing, I'm making sure that she'll stay down, not start to get all excitable and busy just by me sitting here. Okay? And so with now if I'm ready, I can then start to invite. Grace. Down. Okay? Like a little tap if she needs it. Okay? But then just building on that, sharing calm affection. And now because she's staying down, or as down as she can, being on me, if she started to be busy, I'd probably use off with a little tap. But if I'm needing to give direction for them to actually go down, that's where I'll use the down. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Try to use this as a little headrest. Doing this sitting up after doing abs yesterday is a great idea. So. I thought she'd test it more, but after us working her in the field this morning, probably helped. Right? But you guys getting the whole idea. So the idea is with this being an inviting position, how it can invite a little like squirreliness, excitement, mouthy play. That's not the purpose of this exercise. So the whole point is be able to invite them into our space and share calm affection, and they stay calm and respectful. They're not spinning out. Is this all making sense?
Yes.
Was there anybody else that was difficult when we were starting this with them? No? Okay. Oh, one I do remember though was Toby. So for example, he's a dog he's not needy.
No, well, except at night in bed.
Okay, so if that's a place where he's really into it, that's an excellent place to build on it and teach it.
Yeah.
Or even like if you plan like, okay, 15 minutes extra before bed to make a point to work it. And so the whole point is with being able to share affection, but them being responsive to the invitation. I remember like with him, a lot of time you share affection off. A lot of time we share affection, he's kind of disengaged. Like you go share affection, you might invite and pet, but he's not like soaking it up. He might, while you're still petting, just disengage and like lay next to you, but he's not like in your lap just soaking it up like it's the best thing ever.
He's getting there.
No, and I think a lot of that will develop and get better with relationship the longer you have him. But just in terms of when I was working him, and I think from the last group when we were doing this, he was a little bit disengaged like that.
Well, that was 'cause of me.
Well, part of it, but even then he did it with me as well when we did this with him. You know, so I think it'll really develop on building the nice moments, but as you develop more relationship, you know, when you're living with these dogs 24/7, you'll notice the difference in how into you these dogs are. Does that make sense? In one of our teams a few classes ago, the dog was very kind of disengaged, like even inviting him up for affection, they weren't super into it. Like you could pet him and the dog liked it, but if you withdrew praise, the dog would just like settle. It wasn't like, oh, trying to be pushy for more affection, right? And so his concern, a lot of times the veteran will look at like rejection, or the dog doesn't like them. And we say, trust the process. And now that dog is like all up into his space, they snuggle in bed, all this stuff. But there's some dogs it just takes that time to really develop and have that bond. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it took me a while to learn how to set him down, and like you were saying, because I was going too
Mm-hmm.
fast.
Yes.
I had to learn to slow down,
Yes.
and it took him a while to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And once he did
Down.
receive it, and I learned to go slower,
Mm-hmm.
then it went well.
Good. Good.
But
I'm glad.
I have to practice it, and he has to receive it.
Exactly.
And we just practicing it. And when we go home, we practice it.
Good. Okay.
We're practicing a lot of things when we go back to the hotel.
Good. Okay.
Just, him having to sit in the corner for a while when we first get there,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps calm him down before he gets onto the bed.
Good. Okay. And one of the things I was gonna say too is like when we're sharing affection here, it's really important too, like the whole point of like body pressure. I'm sharing affection here, but no part of me is like trying to hold the dog here. Okay? Even if she were to like disengage and settle and like not even be on me, just laying next to me, I would pat and invite. I wouldn't try to pull her up on me. And even in the last group when we were doing this, the dog would be like 6 inches away and just kind of lay. I think it would even like flip on his side and just kind of settle there. And she was wondering how to handle it, so I actually had her scoot away and then pat her lap to bring the dog back in. Okay, but you wouldn't try to pull them in or keep them there. Okay, so even here, so when I'm done, I'm going to gently nudge her off, down, 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 just those little taps to give direction, down. And now when I'm disengaging, as a reminder, I'm not petting her, talking to her, touching her at this point. I'm just reminding her down, down, as I calmly get up, down. And I just go from there. Does that all make sense? Any questions?
Are we doing this with our kids too?
No. I wouldn't recommend it. I would build on them sitting in your space, like them sitting like we've done in the chairs, right? They come up and they just settle with her if they're going to share affection, or she just learns to come up and be respectful and calm. I wouldn't try to build on like pressure therapy, having her on the kids. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay, because she can absolutely learn to have like calm respect while they interact, whether like standing or sitting, but I wouldn't have them sitting on the ground trying to do all this. Okay. Any other questions? Down. Good. Any questions? Make sense? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go and get her up, and that's probably good.